the owners do. The WNBA complain about everything. They have a problem with everything. Oh, you guys, I don't like the way you guys worded things. Let's see. The WNBA is out of pocket at this point, y'all. They are out of pocket. Listen, the tide has turned. The WNBA seem to be more focused on trying to win the general public over rather than get a damn deal done. And that is the nastiest work in all of this.
That frustration you just heard, that's the sound of someone watching a professional sports league create chaos where none needed to exist. Because on January 13th, 2025, the WNBA did something almost unprecedented in modern sports labor relations. They froze free agency entirely. Not delayed it, not postponed it, completely froze it. Players can't sign contracts. Teams can't send offers. The entire system is locked. And the reason why reveals a negotiation process that's gone completely off the rails.
The free agency pause will end once a new CBA agreement is ratified. So there will be no free agency signings or moves that happen as of right now. And I'm guessing this saves just a lot of paperwork for the WNBA because players were already being told by the WNBA, don't sign nothing. Hey, y'all, don't sign. We trying to get a new deal. Don't sign. Here it says WNBA free agency technically began Sunday, despite the league and union remaining at odds over a new CBA agreement.
Here's what actually happened. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement expired on January 9th. That's the contract between the league and the players' union that governs everything. Salaries, free agency rules, revenue sharing, the whole system. When a CBA expires in professional sports, you typically see one of three things happen. The sides agree to an extension and keep negotiating. The owners lock out the players, or the players go on strike. The WNBA did none of those things. Instead, they entered what's called a status quo period, which means the old CBA technically stays in effect while they keep talking. Sounds reasonable, right? Except there's a massive problem. Under the old CBA, free agency was supposed to start on January. So technically, legally, free agency began while both sides are still arguing about what the new rules should be. It's like trying to play a basketball game while the refs are still debating what counts as a foul.
Being sent out on January 11th, restricted qualifying offers are sent to free agents on an expiring contract with 4 years of service or a player finishing the fourth year of their rookie scale contract. This offer, which comes with a 1-year contract and gives the player's previous team the right to match any competing offer, prevents them from becoming unrestricted free agents and designates them to a restricted free agent. Here it says the core designation, which the union has proposed removing. So the players want to get rid of this core designation. They don't.
And that's where this gets messy. According to Front Office Sports, the league sent emails to every team's front office telling them they could start sending out qualifying offers and core designations under the expired agreement. For context, a qualifying offer is how teams retain restricted free agents. It's a 1-year contract offer that gives the team the right to match any competing offer from another team. A core designation is basically the WNBA's version of the NFL franchise tag. It forces a player who would otherwise be an unrestricted free agent to accept a 1-year supermax contract. The players' union has been trying to eliminate core designations in the new CBA because it limits player movement. So imagine being a team executive getting that email. You're being told to send contract offers under rules that might not exist in 2 weeks to players who've been explicitly told by their union not to sign anything. Multiple league sources told Front Office Sports the reaction was confusion and frustration because everyone knows these offers are meaningless.
Last week, the WNBA contacted every team's front office to advise them they can begin sending out qualifying offers and core designations under the expired agreement. The reaction from sources across the league was one of confusion and frustration. Multiple league sources told Front Office Sports that offers would be meaningless as no players would sign them, with an overhaul to the salary system being negotiated. Lexi Brown and Kehlani.
So on January 13th, after days of this absurdity, the league and union finally agreed to a moratorium, a complete freeze on all free agency activity. No qualifying offers, no core designations, no signings, no negotiations. Everything stops until they finish the CBA talks. But here's the detail that matters. The league's initial moratorium proposal, sent at 11 p.m. on Friday night, contained what the union called unnecessary language beyond simply delaying free agency. The union pushed back, sent a counter-proposal over the weekend to remove that language, and only then did the league agree. Even in trying to fix the mess, they couldn't help but create more conflict.
Stewart said over Unrivaled's opening weekend that a strike was not an immediate threat, but a measure the players are keeping in their back pocket. So these players still think they have leverage for whatever reason. I don't know how they believe they have leverage. I think it's absolutely insane, man. Bro, y'all have straight up fumbled and ruined the Caitlin Clark experience. Y'all have ruined the Golden Goose, the interest that was brought into this league from that single player. You guys have just flat out ruined it.
Now let's talk about leverage, because that's what this entire standoff is really about. In December 2024, the WNBA players cast a near-unanimous vote to authorize a strike. That doesn't mean they're going on strike. It means they've given their union leadership the authority to call a strike at any moment without additional approval. Brianna Stewart, who sits on the union's executive committee, said during Unrivaled's opening weekend that a strike wasn't an immediate threat, but it's a measure they're keeping in their back pocket. Here's the problem with that strategy. The WNBA players seem to believe they have significant leverage in these negotiations, and the evidence suggests they might be overestimating their position. Because while they're threatening work stoppages and freezing free agency, the league just came off a season that should have been a massive momentum builder, and instead they've turned it into a circus.
Brianna Stewart talked about, now we all believe this whole Brianna Stewart thing is a conflict of interest, but Brianna Stewart talked about how she's balancing running Unrivaled, playing in Unrivaled, plus being on the board with the CBA and all of this stuff. Let's see what she had to say about that.
Honestly, it's hard. Like, especially these past few weeks, I feel like when I'm here, I'm locked in, I'm practicing with my team, but when I go home, it's like...
The Caitlin Clark factor is the elephant in the room that nobody in the union leadership wants to acknowledge. 2024 season brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Indiana Fever games were drawing millions of viewers. Attendance records were shattered. Merchandise sales exploded. National media coverage reached levels the league had never seen, and it was driven almost entirely by one player's star power and the curiosity she generated. That's not an opinion, that's what the ratings data shows. Games featuring Caitlin Clark averaged 1.2 million viewers. Games without her averaged under 400,000. That's a 3-to-1 difference. That's the definition of a marquee draw. And instead of capitalizing on that momentum, instead of riding that wave into a smooth CBA negotiation that keeps everyone focused on basketball, the league and union have created this mess that dominates headlines for all the wrong reasons.
You know, we have EC calls, we have all these things that you have to be a part of because you want to make sure that everything is going exactly in according to plan. So I told Martha today, I said, you know, my brain is hurting a little bit, like having to think about all these things. But it's the position I want to be in, you know? I wanted to, obviously, be here at Unrivaled and help bring this to fruition and as a co-founder, but also I want to make sure that the league, the W, when it comes time to get back to that, it's going to be...
And then there's the Brianna Stewart situation, which deserves its own examination because it highlights a fundamental conflict of interest that shouldn't exist. Stewart is a co-founder of Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league that's paying WNBA players to compete during the off-season. She's also playing in Unrivaled, and she's simultaneously serving on the WNBA Players Union Executive Committee, helping to negotiate the new CBA. Let's be clear about what that means. She's negotiating on behalf of WNBA players while running a competing basketball league that directly benefits if WNBA players are dissatisfied with their compensation. If CBA talks break down and players feel undervalued by the WNBA, where do you think they're going to look for alternatives? Unrivaled becomes more attractive. Stewart has a financial incentive for WNBA negotiations to be contentious. That's not speculation, that's basic economics.
Something that's going to be a generational shift in this CBA.
All right, so she's trying to do both. I think it's a conflict of interest. I don't even think she should be able to be on the board for the WNBA at this point. But WNBA free agency is officially frozen. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. This is Keep the Vision.
Listen to how she describes balancing these responsibilities. She admits her brain hurts from trying to manage Unrivaled operations. playing in unrivaled games, and participating in executive committee calls about CBA negotiations. She says it's a position she wants to be in, that she wants to help bring unrivaled to fruition, while also ensuring the WNBA gets a generational shift in the CBA. But you can't serve two masters. You can't negotiate in good faith for WNBA players, while simultaneously building a business that competes with the WNBA for those same players' time, energy, and loyalty. The conflict is inherent. So where does this leave us? Let's break down what's actually at stake in these CBA negotiations, because the issues go way beyond just salary numbers. First, there's the core designation fight. The union wants to eliminate it entirely. They argue it restricts player movement and gives teams too much control. The league wants to keep it because it protects franchises from losing their best players without compensation. In the current CBA, a player can only be cored twice in their career, and it comes with a fully guaranteed supermax contract. That's not nothing. We're talking about the highest salary in the league for 1 year. But players see it as handcuffs. They want unrestricted free agency. The league sees it as necessary protection for small market teams that can't compete with big markets in free agency. Second, there's revenue sharing. This is the big one. WNBA players currently receive approximately 50% of league revenue, which is actually higher than the NBA's 50% split when you account for the fact that NBA players also pay for benefits out of their share. But WNBA players want more transparency about what counts as revenue and what gets deducted before the split happens. They want to see the actual financial books. The league has been resistant to that level of disclosure, which creates suspicion. If the league is claiming they're already giving players a fair share, why not prove it by opening the books? Third, there's the salary structure itself. The current supermax is around $250,000. The union is pushing for significant increases across all salary tiers. The league's position is that salaries need to be tied to actual revenue growth, not projected future growth. They point out that most WNBA teams still lose money, subsidized by their NBA ownership partner. The players counter that you can't grow revenue without investing in the product first, and that includes paying players enough that they don't have to play overseas in the offseason just to make a living wage. Fourth, there's the issue of benefits and working conditions. This includes everything from travel accommodations, to maternity leave, to mental health support. The 2020 CBA made significant improvements in these areas. Players now fly commercial instead of taking buses between cities. They get private hotel rooms instead of sharing. They have better medical coverage. But the union argues there's still a massive gap between WNBA standards and what NBA players receive. The league argues that's an apples to oranges comparison given the revenue difference between the two leagues. Now here's what makes this negotiation particularly tricky. Both sides have legitimate points, but neither side trusts the other. The players don't trust the league's financial claims, because the league won't open the books completely. The league doesn't trust the players' revenue projections, because they're based on maintaining the Caitlin Clark effect, which may or may not be sustainable. And that mutual distrust is why we end up with situations like the free agency freeze. Neither side wants to blink first. But let's talk about the tactical mistake the union is making here. By authorizing a strike and creating this confrontational atmosphere, they're gambling that public opinion will side with the players over the owners. And maybe in 2019 or 2020, that would have worked. The social climate was very pro-player, very focused on pay equity and fair compensation for women athletes. But in 2025, after the way the 2024 season played out, public sentiment has shifted. A significant portion of the WNBA's new fan base came in specifically to watch Caitlin Clark, and they watched as veteran players and media personalities spent the entire season downplaying her impact, attributing the league's growth to everything except her star power, and in some cases actively antagonizing her and her fan. When Brianna Stewart called Clark fans the dark side, that didn't play well outside the WNBA bubble. When players complained about the attention Clark was receiving, it came across as petty and self-defeating. The union seems to think they still have the public relations advantage. And that matters because modern labor negotiations in professional sports are as much about public pressure as they are about legal leverage. If fans are demanding that players get paid more, owners feel pressure to settle. But if fans are frustrated with the players for creating drama instead of focusing on basketball, that pressure disappears. Right now, casual fans aren't saying pay WNBA players more. They're saying, why is this league always dealing with some controversy instead of just playing basketball? That's a catastrophic messaging failure by the union. The moratorium on free agency buys both sides time to negotiate without the chaos of players signing contracts under rules that might change. But it also extends the period where the WNBA is making headlines for labor disputes instead of basketball. Every day this drags on is another day the league isn't capitalizing on the momentum from last season. Every day this drags on is another day potential sponsors and media partners see dysfunction instead of stability. Every day this drags on is another day casual fans tune out and go watch something else. The only players not affected by the moratorium are Lexi Brown and Kalani Brown, who already signed contracts through 2026 before all this started. Everyone else is in limbo. Veterans who were expecting to test free agency and potentially get paid are stuck waiting. Rookies who were drafted in 2024 and are heading into their second contracts are stuck waiting. Teams that were planning to rebuild through free agency are stuck waiting. The entire league is frozen because the union and the league couldn't figure out how to handle a CBA expiration without creating chaos. And here's the kicker: this was entirely avoidable. The sides knew the CBA was expiring in January. They had months to negotiate an extension, or at least agree on how to handle the transition period. Instead, they let it run right up to the deadline, failed to reach an agreement, and then scrambled to figure out what to do about free agency starting under the old rule. It's amateur hour from both sides. The league looks incompetent for not having a contingency plan. The union looks unreasonable for objecting to language in a moratorium proposal that was designed to protect players from signing bad contracts during the uncertainty. Meanwhile, Brianna Stewart is on executive committee calls during her downtime from unrivaled games, trying to negotiate a CBA for a league she's actively competing against with her own venture. The optics are terrible. It raises questions about whether she's negotiating for what's best for WNBA players, or what's best for making unrivaled an attractive alternative. And before anyone says that's unfair speculation, she's the one who chose to be a co-founder of a competing league while serving on the union executive committee. She created this conflict of interest. She doesn't get to complain when people point it out. So what happens next? Either side can initiate a work stoppage at any moment without advance notice. The owners can lock out the players can go on strike. Neither side wants to be the first to pull that trigger because whoever does will take the public relations hit. But if negotiations drag on into March or April, and training camps are supposed to start, someone's going to have to blink. And my money's on the players blinking first because they have way more to lose. Most WNBA players aren't making enough money to survive a prolonged work stop. The owners, backed by NBA franchises with deep pockets, can wait this out indefinitely. The players can't. They authorized a strike as a negotiating tactic, but actually following through would be financial suicide for most of the roster. The smart play for the union would be to take a reasonable deal now, declare victory on whatever improvements they get, and move on. Let the league capitalize on the Caitlin Clark momentum. Let the 2025 season be about basketball instead of labor disputes. Build goodwill with the new fan base, then come back in a few years with even more leverage based on actual sustained revenue growth. But that would require strategic thinking and long-term planning. Based on how they've handled this CBA negotiation so far, I'm not confident that's what we're going to see. The WNBA had a golden opportunity coming out of the 2024 season. They had unprecedented attention, record viewership, a legitimate superstar in Caitlin Clark, who was bringing in new fans by the millions. All they had to do was not screw it up, and somehow they're screwing it up. The free agency freeze is just the latest example of a league that can't get out of its own way. So drop a comment and let me know, do you think the players have real leverage here, or are they overplaying their hand? Because from where I'm sitting, they're gambling with a momentum wave that won't wait around forever. And if they're not careful, they're going to look back at 2025 as the year they fumbled the best chance this league has ever had.